I do remember actually some friends of mine would refer to gigs as work. They'd say like, oh, I'm just going to work. And I thought, oh, that's so stupid. It's not work. It's a gig, And then like slowly, I don't know, over some years, it changed and it's like, it is work, it is a job. This is how we make money, and how we pay the bills, and it is a job. I feel very blessed and lucky I get to do a lot of different things that they don't really feel like work to me, to be honest.
Hello, and welcome to The Other Side of the Bell, a podcast dedicated to everything trumpet, brought to you by Bob Reeves Brass. We want to inspire you to develop joy and confidence in your trumpet playing. I'm your host, John Snell, and joining me today is trumpeter James Davison. But first, some trumpet news. Well, summer is rolling along here in Southern California. We're in, the second or third week of a heat wave. It's been over 100 degrees, I think, every day for the last couple of weeks, and it's not letting up. I think we're supposed to be in the high hundreds, maybe reach 110 this week here at the shop. So if you call the shop and we sound a little tired or a little worn out, maybe that's why. But getting to trumpet, we got a lot of things coming up. I'm a few weeks away from my trip to Joy Brass. The dates for that are September 17th to the 24th. I will be in Tokyo the entire time. So if you want a vowel alignment or a consultation, please call or email Joy Brass. We'll have their website and their information down below in the description. They are in Kamata, over by Haneda Airport. So in the outskirts of Tokyo, and love going there. Can't wait to see my good friends there. I know actually one of my friends, Hikita-san, was on tour of the U.S. and playing. He's a great jazz trumpet player, and he visited the shop last week and got to meet Dan Rosenboom. Dan was in the shop working on a new version of his Mouthpiece, yet to be released. And so we had a great time, ordered some Thai food, talked shop, talked about the trumpet, tried some mutes. We had a great time. But Hikita-san will be at Joy Brass. I think I'm aligning one of his cornets this time. So hope to see you there. Again, the dates for that, September 17th to 24th. The next trip will be Virtuosity Music in Boston. I don't have the link for that yet, but if you want to get on the waiting list, feel free to contact Virtuosity either through their Facebook or Instagram, or give them a call. They normally have a sign-up link, so once we get that, we will share that with you all. I always sell out there. Obviously, Boston's a popular place with all the schools around. The dates for that, again, October 9th and 10th. And then following that in November, we will be at Great Black Mouthpieces for the NCMEA convention, November 6th through 9th. We'll probably have more information on that when I get back from Japan. I've been just trying to get through the Japanese trip. A lot of great things going on. Just got another, I think 4 or 5 instruments in on consignment, some Bachs, some New York Bachs, some Mount Vernon Bachs, some early Elkhart Bachs, Vindobona, some 43s, some cool medium ores. So if you're interested in a cool Bach Stradivarius horn, check the website. If I mentioned before, we'll have Boyd Hood's collection that he's slowly weeding out some of his horns. So I have some very interesting Queenon, F and G horns. I have a cool long bell Getzen D trumpet. So lots of things, as well as mouthpieces, some cool used Mount Vernon and New York mouthpieces, all on the website. Because I'm going to Japan, I will be restocking on some of the Japanese mutes that I haven't been able to get for the last year for a whole variety of reasons. So if you're in the market for a Yupon or Okura mute, Okura makes wonderful practice mutes for trumpet, trombone, horn, and Yupon makes a variety of straight, cup, and solotone mutes for trumpet. They also have a great practice mute as well, but I enjoy using that one. I will be stocking up whatever I can fit in my suitcases coming home in just a few weeks. So towards the end of September, check the website if you've been looking for those mutes, because they've been out of stock for pretty much a year now at this point. So, and I'm only so much I can carry. So keep an eye out for those. The Olven mutes are moving along. We just getting a shipment of Dizzy Bot mutes here in the next few weeks that we've been out of stock of, and the Bobby Shoe soloist mutes are coming along as well. Hope to have the first batch up on the website by the end of the year. So I'll keep you up to date on that. And of course, mouthpieces. Everyone knows us for the mouthpieces, so I don't talk about it much, but thank you. We have a lot of great new customers who've been ordering Reeves mouthpieces. A lot of cool custom stuff we've been doing. In fact, Brett's in the midst of working on a sterling silver custom rim for a client. So whenever we do silver, I always put a video up. So make sure to check out our social media to watch Brett hand carving now a several $100 piece of silver. So not for the faint-hearted. That's all the news for today. Let's get right to my interview with James Davison. Today's episode is brought to you by Bob Reeves Brass, who share your passion for creating extraordinary music. You know that feeling when your instrument just clicks and the music flows effortlessly? That's what Bob Reeves Brass has been helping customers do since 1968. We've helped brass musicians like you achieve their dreams by ensuring their equipment is always in perfect harmony. We know you want to immerse yourself in the art of music making, and we're here to remove any barriers between you and your creative vision. Bob Reeves Brass is truly your one-stop shop for everything you need to fuel your passion and create music that touches hearts and souls. So go ahead, let us help you elevate your sound to new heights. Don't wait another moment to elevate your musical journey with Bob Reeves Brass. Connect with us at bobreeves.com, shoot us an email at info@bobreeves.com, and keep up with the latest news on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and Twitter at Bob Reeves Brass. Embrace your passion for music and let Bob Reeves Brass be your partner in creating the extraordinary. James Davison is one of London's most in-demand trumpet and flugelhorn players, equally at home in jazz, orchestral music, and the recording studio. His credits include the BBC Big Band, Ronnie Scott's Jazz Orchestra, the Scottish National Jazz Orchestra, the Danish Radio Big Band, London Symphony Orchestra, the Royal Philharmonic Orchestra, and Philharmonia. And in 2024, he joined the renowned brass ensemble London Brass. As a band leader, James recently released Moonbeams, an intimate trumpet and bass duo album with longtime collaborator Misha Mullov-Abbado, reflecting a musical partnership spanning nearly 2 decades. He can also be heard on Callum Au's ambitious 2026 release, Sing Seven Seas, recorded with an orchestra of more than 80 musicians and featuring many of the leading names in British jazz. Please welcome to the other side of the bell, James Davison. I am so honored to have joining me across the pond today, trumpeter James Davison. Jim, how you doing?
Good, thanks. Good, thanks for having me on.
How's it's pretty toasty over here in LA. I know Europe has been getting some weather. Are you guys sweating over there as well?
It's pretty hot. It's been a bit less hot today, but yeah, it's pretty hot. Yeah, we haven't had rain for weeks,
which is unusual for your neck of the woods.
Pretty unusual. And not so great for the vegetables growing in my garden.
So just for the folks that are watching us on YouTube, like I'm already like sweating up here in the shop. So, you know, we're gonna punch this out. But we're here to talk about trumpet, and I want to talk about how you got started. Let's start right from the beginning. Did you search out the trumpet, or did it kind of fall in your lap? How did that happen?
So my dad plays the trombone, and I from a very young age I was listening to him practice in the house, you know, doing warm-ups and practicing his solos over various different things. And so it's kind of in my head, I guess, a bit, the brass sound. I think when I was younger, I wanted to play the drums for a bit, and I wanted to play the violin for a bit. And my parents kind of guided me away from both of those things. And it was about when I was about 7 or 8 years old, I remember watching a big band gig that my dad was playing in. And I just saw the trumpets stood at the back, and they were stood up and having loads of fun and playing really loud and really high. And I just I remember it vividly. Actually, I just remember sitting there thinking, I want to do that. You know, that's what I want to do. And yeah, so I think, it was about 8. I got a cornet from my primary school. Mm-hmm. And it all went from there, really. I just kind of took to it, and I was obsessed with it, to be honest. I would, as soon as I got it in the car on the way home, I got it out of the case and started to play it. And my mum was like, "No, you can't play it while we're driving, you know." And
in the car,
in the car, yeah, like straight away, you know. Yeah. And just before school, after school, just whenever I just couldn't stop playing. I just absolutely loved it. Yeah.
Wow. So it was an instant. So do you know which big band it was when you were 8?
It was the 78 RPM big band, a big band based in Cambridgeshire. Yeah, they were great. They kind of still exist, but they're not really gigging anymore. But they were sort of the soundtrack to my childhood, really, along with lots of other big bands. But yeah, I saw them lots live.
Was your father? Was he considered a professional trombone player, or was it something?
No. He's not professional, but very good, just very good amateur and or semi-pro, as he'd say.
So, yeah.
Yeah, he's still about. He still plays. He plays more bass trombone now, actually, in the orchestras in Cambridge, and he's in a brass ensemble called Prime Brass that's based in Cambridge. And in fact, they were a massive influence on me as well when I was growing up around there. But yeah, he still plays, and my mum plays the saxophone and the clarinet, more the clarinet now, to be honest. And my granddad plays the banjo, and my auntie and uncle are very musical. It's quite a musical family, really. So maybe it was inevitable. I don't know.
So Christmas dinners, you have a band together, and you guys all
we do actually,
jam.
yeah. Christmas, yeah. Me, my dad, and my granddad, we all play some trad, Christmas tunes, and we've managed to rope in my niece, who's only 7, to come and play a little bit of like tambourine or something,
Passing it on to the next generation. I love it.
Yeah, hopefully, yeah.
So did your father help you out to get going, or did you just learn in school?
Yeah, he's never taught music or trombone. So I think both my mum did, but I think they were both quite keen for me to have a separate trumpet teacher, not one of them. But no, he taught me loads, actually. We would just sort of play together at home. He'd teach me tunes like the Basin Street Blues, for example. He's it's a classic call and response kind of tune, so it's quite good for learning. So he'd play the first bit and I'd copy it, and then the next bit I'd copy it, and like loads of tunes like that. Basin Street Blues, All of Me, Ain't Misbehaving, all those kind of old, more like traddy tunes, Dixieland stuff. He taught me loads and loads of that, but not in a lesson way, just we were just having a play sort of thing,
Yeah, playing music together.
Yeah.
Which I suppose had to have been wonderful for your ear, because you're listening. And would he give you the music for those, or would he teach you the tunes just playing, and you'd have to mimic?
Just playing by ear, yeah. And I think back now, and I'm so grateful for that, actually. And I think that's a really important thing for young people to do when they're learning, because I noticed it when I got to music college that quite a few of my friends were amazing, like much better players than me, like trombone players, tuba players, whatever, French horn, but they couldn't play without any music. If there was no music in front of them, they'd just freeze up, and I I realized like learning in that way, not being restricted to having the sheet music in front of you, was actually really helpful, and it's been very beneficial, I think, in general.
Yeah, and it started at 8 years old. That's incredible.
8 years old, yeah.
And I mean, when you're in the UK, did you grow up playing in the brass bands as well, or was it primarily your school?
No, I didn't do the brass band thing. Not growing up, not like a lot of my friends and colleagues who really did it. That was their whole thing. No, it was more, for me, it was a little bit of school, and then it was a lot out of school. So my dad played in some local big bands and this brass ensemble that I already mentioned. And also I grew up near Cambridge, and there's some really amazing youth music stuff in Cambridge. So there was a thing, I don't know whether it still exists, it probably still does, but there was a program called Holiday Orchestra, and it was every single school holiday. So every half term, and like a week for the half term, and a week, or maybe it was 2 weeks in the summer. I can't remember exactly. I was so young, but so all of my holidays were taken up doing that. And I remember it was a Thursday night, we would me and Dad would go to Peterborough and do a big band rehearsal. The guy who ran that band has just turned 100, actually. I saw him recently. He came to a gig of mine. Yeah, and he's 100 now. Yeah, that was cool.
Who is that?
He's called Peter Browse.
Peter Brown. Browse?
Yeah, I think he was a trombone player, actually. But yeah,
wow.
Yeah, Peter Browse, yeah.
Well, shout out to Peter. Amazing. 100 years old.
Peter Browse, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Soak Big Band, it was called. Anyway, yeah, so no, not the brass band tradition. It was big bands and brass ensembles for me, really, and orchestras.
Mm-hmm. And at this point, were you listening to any, jazz artists, or was it primarily big band stuff that you were involved in?
Back then, I think the first person I really got into was James Morrison. I was really obsessed with James Morrison. He had that album out, Scream Machine, that one.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I know that one.
Yeah. So that just seemed like totally beyond it, like it was just amazing. It just blew my mind really that the trumpet could play like that. And then the fact that he played trombone and euphonium and all of the instruments as well was like really amazing. And we went to see him. He came over to the Wigan Jazz Festival a few times, and my dad took me up there, bless him. And yeah, we saw some master classes, and it was his classic thing of like not having to warm up, just pick the trumpet up straight away and just do something amazing, So he was a big influence when I was much younger, yeah. And then also Chet Baker. I listened to loads of Chet Baker. Loved Chet's like the sound and the melodic, just beautiful melodic playing. I loved that. Quite different from James. But to be honest, it was mainly big bands. It was Bob Florence, Count Basie, obviously, in Ellington, but loads of Bob Florence, loads of Terry Gibbs Dream Band, and the Fat Band, that Gordon Goodman's Fat Band. That album came out when I was quite young, so it was sort of perfect for me, really. It's very inspirational. Is it Swinging for the Fences? I think it's called that.
I think it was
yeah. With Count Bubba and Sing Sang Song and all that. Sing Sang Song, by the way.
Yeah. Don't worry, it's only going out on the internet. They'll correct
yes.
I'll get the angry email.
Nobody's heard of the Fat Band, though, right? Like no
one.
Yeah, I remember going to gigs with my dad actually, and we'd plan out our dream big bands, like who would be in our dream big band, whilst listening to Terry Gibbs or whatever. And it's great.
That's really cool. I did that kind of thing in college, but I think like growing up for me, it was like baseball, like picking up an all-star baseball team and put you on each. But yeah, doing that for a big band or an orchestra, that would be pretty cool.
Yeah.
I might do that with my trumpet section. I like that.
I was
yeah. So as you're developing, did your dad kind of bring you along to gigs and things to start sitting in, or did you?
Yeah, exactly. Really? Yeah. Little pub gigs, and in fact, actually, one of the big bands he played in. I think I was 12 or 13, and the band had Don Lusher as a guest, the amazing British trombone player. And I went out. I was really little boy, and I went out the front and did a little solo with him. And I think, unfortunately, at the time, he had Alzheimer's quite bad, and I think he sort of didn't really know where he was, and people were having to help him on and off stage. But he played amazingly. It was unbelievable, really. It was kind of cognitively, he wasn't there so much anymore. But as soon as he played, it was like he was the same as ever. So that I didn't really know who he was at the time, really. I very much took it for granted. But yeah, that was all just my dad taking me along to things he was doing. And yeah, I'm very grateful for that. Yeah.
Well, yeah, what an incredible, and it also shows the power of music and, the pathways in the brain that music can reach. Yeah. Oh, incredible. So, I mean, it might be too early in your, upbringing to think about this stuff, but I mean, it sounds like you were so obsessed, as you said, about cornet and trumpet. Were you thinking about doing this as a career, or was it just something that you just, I love this thing, had you taken it to that step yet?
Certainly when I got to like secondary school and GCSEs and A levels, and yeah, I definitely was thinking I want to go to. Well, when I was 13, my trumpet teacher at the time said to my parents, "You should really consider for James to audition to one of the colleges, the junior departments." I don't know whether you guys have this over in the States, but the Royal College, the Royal Academy, Guildhall, all these colleges in London, Trinity, they all have junior Saturday colleges. So kids under 18 can go there on a Saturday, and it's like a sort of, I don't know, I guess a little stepping stone, little taster for what music college might be like or whatever. And so yeah, I auditioned for the Academy jazz course and never heard back from them. Funnily enough, I just literally never heard back from them. But I think it worked out well, because I then applied to the Royal College of Music and the junior department and got in. So I went there every Saturday from when I was 13 all the way up to 18. And from then on, it was like, okay, I want to do this seriously, I think, because some of my best friends today still I met there actually, and I still work with them, play with them a lot. It was just amazing. My school wasn't amazing. My secondary school didn't really have the best music department, to be honest. And when I went there, I remember walking into the main concert hall of the Royal College of Music and the symphony orchestra. Bearing in mind, they're all like 18 and younger. Some of them are like 12, 13, 14 years old. They were playing Prokofiev, Romeo and Juliet, the famous bit. And it was just, I'd never heard anything like it. It was absolutely unbelievable. And they were all like my age. And it was like, oh my God, this is amazing. And from then on, it was like, right, this is what I'm doing, And also when I realized to get into music college, you only needed to get 2 E's. You didn't need to get straight A's or anything like that. You just needed to basically pass the audition. I thought, great, I'm definitely doing that.
That's my avenue. So there wasn't any other like career splits. You were thinking of going one direction or the other. It seemed pretty, you're dead set at that point.
I was dead set. Yeah. I'm not any good at anything else.
And that, sometimes that makes the decision easier, So you were joining, it was in the Royal College, and this is like, I always get confused with the Royal Academy and the Royal College and so many royals out there in the UK. Music. Yeah. Where did you end up going for university then?
Yeah. So I went to the Guildhall for the Guildhall School of Music and Drama for my undergrad. And I did the classical course there. So that's a 4-year course. And it was amazing. It was so great. It's the thing that Guildhall has over the other colleges is that they have the acting course and we call them techies, but the technical theatre course, the lighting, staging, stage management, blah, blah, blah. And it also has the halls of residence is very close to the school itself, which is right next to the Barbican in the city of London. The halls are sort of right around the corner, and there's this amazing courtyard, and everyone is in the same halls. And in the basement of the halls is the bar. And they certainly when I was in first year, they had loads of gigs going on, and it was just a great place to be. But everyone was there, like the Royal Academy, the Royal College. All of the halls are split up between different places, and they're not all together. So as a result, the Guildhall is just very sociable. And when I went to the different open days, I sort of got a real vibe from the Guildhall, like, this is fun. This is going to be a fun place, And also Phil Cobb had just finished there, was finishing up there. Alex Maynard and Chris Evans. There was some like amazing trumpet players that had come through. And I just thought, right, I want to go there. And I'm really glad I did. And I'm really glad I did the classical course because I learned loads, and it got my, trumpet playing technique and facility and all that. It really pushed me with that. But then at the end of it, there was always the talk of people doing postgrads or not. And I sort of thought, I don't really want to do any more of the classical course. I was playing in some friends' jazz bands at the time that were all at the Royal Academy of Music doing the postgrad jazz course, or they had just done the postgrad jazz course. And so I just thought, I thought I'm going to go and give that a go. I'll audition, see if I get in first, which I did. So then I went and did the jazz course on the Academy straight after the Guildhall. That was a 2-year course. I did 6 years in total of music college, and that felt like too much by the end.
But, especially back to back, right?
That's, exactly. Yeah.
So, I'm curious about your decision, and we'll get to the Royal Academy. I'm curious about your decision to go the classical route for your undergrad. Were you looking at any jazz programs, or
not really? No. So probably from like about 15 or 16, I was doing lots of local youth orchestra stuff. This thing I mentioned earlier, holiday orchestra. I mean, that was amazing. Actually, I think age 11, I was in the orchestra when they did the Rite of Spring, and the orchestra was loads of. It was kids, but it was lots of the local peripatetic teachers in Cambridge that came and sort of boosted up the orchestra. So it sounded better than just a load of kids doing it. But nevertheless, I was 11 and I was playing first trumpet in the Rite of Spring, and it was unbelievable and amazing. And my dad was quite keen for me to do the classical thing, I think. And so I did lots of youth orchestras, different Cambridge and Peterborough youth orchestras. I then went on to the National Youth Orchestra, the MYO, I did that in my last 2 years of school, so the sixth form years. And Jason Evans, who is a principal trumpeter in the Philharmonia, and an amazing trumpet player over here in London, he was in the same year as me, and he was there, and I was that was an amazing, and also loads of other amazing players, by the way. But Jason's particularly sort of really inspired me, and it made me want to try and be an orchestral trumpet player, basically. I was always doing jazz. I was always playing jazz, but it felt like this thing that was kind of just a bit of fun, and a proper job would be to get an orchestral job, and do the classical thing. So that's why I did it, and it was good. I'm glad I did. But as soon as I went to the jazz course at the academy, or more, as soon as I started doing some gigs with the jazz musicians in London, I quickly realised that's for me more.
Yeah.
Than the orchestral thing.
That's where your heart is.
Yeah.
It sounds like your heart and soul. No pun intended. But the classical side of things seems like it made you the versatile player that you are today as well, right?
It helps a lot. It really helps a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. It seems silly in this day and age, like asking those kind of questions as if, like, as you're growing up as a musician, you have to choose one path or the other, with the music scene the way it is today. It's like, you're an orchestral musician or you're a jazz musician, and there's like no crossover. You can't do both, or you can't integrate all those skills. And, some of us end up in completely other careers that, they have nothing to do with jazz or, playing in a symphony. So, we'll see where music education, I'll leave that for another podcast.
Yeah. I think that I remember someone saying to me, actually, at some point you're going to have to choose. And, I remember thinking, well, Wynton kind of did choose, right? Because he's kind of gone jazz, but all of those recordings of him playing the Haydn and all the other things, like they're amazing, right? It's like, he does both. Why can't I do both?
Yeah, exactly.
I wish I could do it as well as him, but if
get in line with me and everyone else, right? Yes, I'm curious. Who did you study with when you were in Guildhall?
At the Guildhall. So my main teacher was Paul Beniston, who's the principal trumpeter of the LPO, the London Philharmonic Orchestra. I also had Anne McEnany, who's also in the LPO, and Steve Keevy was the natural trumpet teacher. I had loads of teachers actually at Guildhall. That they were kind of the and Paul Kosh as well. I don't think I had any one-to-one lessons with Paul Kosh, but he was like the trumpet dad of the college. He looked after everyone, and he took the weekly trumpet classes, which is called Trumpet Club at Guildhall, which I always found quite funny. The Tuesday night trumpet club.
The trumpet club.
It's sort of them for the classical side of things to start with, and then I did second study jazz on a sort of as a little side pathway, and I had Noel Langley and Robbie Robson as my teachers for the jazz thing. But then in my fourth year, Paul Kosh left and 3 different teachers replaced him. So all of a sudden there was also in the faculty, Will O'Sullivan, Paul Mays and Chris Deacon. And I think only Will still teaches there, but Chris Deacon was particularly helpful for me. He really sort of changed my life, actually.
Wow. How so?
Well, I was getting a bit disheartened and I felt like I wasn't good enough at all the orchestral stuff, and I saw quite a lot of my lessons were kind of like, no, that's wrong. No, it's not like that. No, you didn't. No, not that. And I just thought, oh God, like maybe I'm just not very good. And then Chris Deacon came along, and he quite simply just sort of like built me up. He just gave me some encouraging words, and he said, that sounds great, or well done. It seems, looking back, it seems mad. It's very basic really, but he was encouraging. And he also was the first person to suggest that I try a slightly smaller mouthpiece. Here we go. We're going to get nerdy now. But
all right. Now we're getting into my area.
I don't know what it's like over there, but there was, maybe still is, this thing in the UK of like, apparently Maurice Murphy only ever played one mouth. I don't know whether this is true or not, but like, if you can just play one mouthpiece for everything, then you're good. And if you have to swap, then you're then you're cheating. Maybe this is not what I was told, but it's certainly what I kind of had in my head anyway, for whatever reason. So I was just struggling away, not really being able to play high. And Chris Deacon said, why don't you just try slightly narrower mouthpiece? And it was like just life-changing. All of a sudden, I could play high notes. And then, so then since then, I've just gone narrower and narrower and narrower, and could slowly play slightly higher with each, diameter change. And also, Chris gave me my first professional gig. He was meant to be doing offstage with the LSO for, I can't remember what the program was now, and he couldn't do it last minute for some reason. And knowing that I was at the Guildhall literally next door, he said, Jim, can you do this gig? You need to get tails and be at the Barbican for whatever, And so I went and spent 150 quid or something on a pair of tails, which seemed like really loads of money at the time. And then went to do this rehearsal and then the concert, and found out actually we didn't need the tails because offstage was offstage, not slightly on stage. And then by the time I got to wear those tails again, they didn't fit me. So,
oh no! I was going to say, at least you have them. You're prepared for the future.
Yeah, no, I don't have them anymore.
Well, what an influence, especially at a relatively young age. You said that was your fourth year.
That was in my fourth year.
Yeah. So and at a turning point where you're considering what to do, come graduation in a few months or less than a year. Really amazing. It was what a little encouragement can do, right?
Right. Yeah. I don't teach very much, but I've done a little bit of teaching recently, and I'm really trying to do that. Be encouraging, because I just think it's maybe everyone's different, right? Like maybe I need the ego boost more than others, but having encouragement really made a difference for me, So yeah.
I mean, we all need a swift kick to the behind every now and then when we're not doing our stuff. But I agree. Like we need to feel good about ourselves moving forward and encouragement. So now you realize that maybe orchestral stuff isn't where your heart and soul is. What was the decision to go to the Royal Academy, and why jazz?
Yeah, I mean, I remember turning up for lessons and playing at orchestral excerpts, and whoever it was teaching me was saying, have you listened to this? Have you actually listened to it? Because it was clearly obvious that I hadn't, right? The way I was playing it, whatever. And no, I haven't listened to it. And okay, you need to go and listen. I was like, okay, right, go away, listen to this symphony. And I just get bored. I just would switch off and find myself putting on, the Terry Gibbs Dream Band or the Basie Band, and my heart was never in it. And still now, I love going to see my friends in different orchestral concerts, and it's fun because I know some of the players now, and it's fun to see them. But if I'm honest, it doesn't excite me, and it doesn't keep my attention as much as a small band or a big band or jazz, basically. So I guess I just realized that, and doing the course at the Academy really hit that home. And I was super lucky that when I was there, the trumpet section in the big band was Louis Dowdeswell, James Copus, myself, and at the time, at the start, there was a young guy, he was only in first year at the time, called Jake Labatzi, who was unbelievable, like ridiculously good. And I don't think he plays anymore, unfortunately, but in the second year of my postgrad, Tom Gardner joined, Simon Gardner's son. And so that was the trumpet section when I was there, in the big band. So it was amazing. I just learned so much from them, as well as all the different teachers. And I was getting lessons with not just trumpet players, but Gareth Lecrane on flute, and Ian Ballamy's tenor sax player, and just loads of different amazing jazz musicians, basically. And it was just very, very, I just fell in love with it. I just thought, this is it. I'm doing this,
What fun. What a section.
Yeah, right. I remember doing it. We had a sort of joint lesson with Simon Gardner that went on for about 4 hours. And it was, Louis, Copus, me, Tom. To start with, I think Tom wasn't there to start with, so Cy was playing in the section, and we just, all four of us, Cy put on just a metronome through the speakers, and he'd brought along a load of big band charts, and we just we took turns playing each part. So we'd play a chart, play it with a click on, on 2 and 4. and then swap round. Next chart, we all go along a seat. So we all got to play lead, we all got to play second, and we just did that for hours and hours and hours. And it was amazing. It was great.
Wow. What an experience. Did you record those? Man, I'd love to hear that.
That would have been good. No. This is before Louis was, as much. I'm sure now Louis would have been recording for his.
He would have had, he would have been up on YouTube and Instagram. But yeah, I know I've talked about, starting relationships with your colleagues. I assume you guys play with each other now all the time on different projects and things. Yeah. And in fact, depending on the timing, probably a lot of you guys were already starting to work in London at this point. Is that correct?
Yeah, they were doing a bit more than me, and I just missed Tom Walsh at the academy because he's a year older. So by the time I started my postgrad, he'd already left. Mm-hmm. But certainly them guys were doing lots of stuff, but it was, I think it was because of being at the academy that I met people like Tom, for example, or George Hogg, also incredible trumpet player over here, and other guys that are very much more like jazz players, lead players, whatever. And because before, I remember when I was at the Guildhall being on the classical course, if ever I met any of these people, I was like, they saw me as a classical player, and it was kind of like, he's just a classical guy. And as soon as I was at the academy, everyone's opinion changed to me, and they were all calling me. It was funny noticing that difference. Actually, it was
yeah. That's one of those narratives that maybe one episode at a time we can start changing. Labeling who we are. We're artists. We're musicians, and we're not one style. We're not one idiom.
Big time. Yeah, I think there should be more crossover in generally at the colleges. It's mad that there's not really, but yeah. Whatever.
Yeah. So, and I'm curious where your solo playing, what direction it went, like who your influences were in terms of your own individual soloing.
Yeah. Okay. Well, there was quite a sort of clear shift for me, and I was listening to lots of Freddie Hubbard and Clifford Brown and Wynton, loads of Wynton, obsessed with Wynton, like mainly because he'd come from the classical thing and then he was doing all the jazz stuff, and like I just love his playing. Like I remember when I was still at the Guildhall, we did I played in the big band a little bit at Guildhall, even though I was on the classical course, because they needed extra players or whatever. And there was a project that we did. Wynton came along. Basically, Wynton was in town because he was playing with the Lincoln Center at the Barbican, and he came to the gig, and that was amazing for all of us, And then after the gig, we all went to Ronnie Scott's. Back then, there was every Monday and Tuesday night. It was the late set. There was a gig, and then there was a jam session afterwards, and everyone went all the time. Unfortunately, it's changed, and they don't have that anymore. But anyway, that's a conversation for another time. But this particular night, we were all going to the jam session, and we heard Wynton's coming to the jam session, and it was like, oh my God. And the guy hosting the session was a sax player, and he was playing loads of notes, and it was all very like, hard, like jazz, and Wynton turned up, and after a little while of him being there, the host invited Wynton up, and Wynton just went and played all of me, like really medium tempo, and played super. Anyway, I just love that. I just love that it's not like all the time, it's music and it's melody, and yeah. So anyway, obsessed with Wynton. But then someone told me about Clark Terry, and I'd never heard of Clark Terry. I'd never heard any of his playing. I didn't know who he was, and I heard some Clark Terry, Bob Brookmeyer quintet recordings. I don't know what it was, but maybe Tete-a-Tete or Straight Note Chaser or something, and it just blew my mind. It's never been the same since I first heard Clark Terry do all that incredible sort of technical, like agile, amazing trumpet playing with it, and clearly like an amazing technique. Like he can play high, he sounds amazing. He's all over. Like I just was like, I have to do this now, and I just got completely obsessed with Clark, and he's all I listened to for like maybe 3 years. I only listened to Clark Terry. Sounds crazy, isn't it? But I just tried really hard to try and play a bit like him. just try to do what he could do. And it was around this kind of the time I then left the academy, and at gigs, I would put in a few little Clark Terry licks. And Pete Long, who's an incredible band leader and saxophone, clarinet, all of the woodwinds play. He runs the Ronnie Scott's big bands over here in London. I was on a gig with him, and he sort of heard me do a little Clark Terry thing, and he was like, "Oh, Clark Terry," and he was running a Ellington band at the time, so then got me to go and do that Ellington band, and it was sort of an excuse for me to be Clark Terry. Basically, he was like, "I want you to like this tune is like a feature that Clark did. Play like Clark Terry." And all through college, there's the thing of like, don't copy other people. You got to find your own voice. Like, don't just be a mimic or whatever. And that's, of course, yeah, sure. But this was a really cool opportunity for me to forget about all of that and actually just try and play like Clark Terry. And Louis was in the same band doing the Cat Anderson thing. He was like perfect Cat Anderson, And a guy called Colin Skinner, who lives over here, does an amazing Johnny Hodges kind of impersonation, I guess.
What fun.
Clark Terry and Freddie Hubbard and Wynton, I think, are my main, the people I always come back to and listen to the most and try to play a bit like, basically.
Yeah. Wow. But it goes to show, like, following your passion. Obviously there's some serendipity involved and some chance, but the fact that you were so obsessed with Clark and were trying to integrate that into your playing led to an opportunity, which then I'm sure led to other opportunities down the road, It
did. I mean, literally in Pete's band, Callum Au was, it has been in it for ages. He was in it. I didn't know Callum. We didn't cross over with Nijo. Do you know Nijo? Have you heard of Nijo? It's the National Youth Jazz Orchestra. It's a massive thing.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah, we talked about it.
All of the players
just
did it.
Not the abbreviation.
Everyone came through it. The sad thing now is that it's changed quite a lot, and they've got rid of the weekly big band rehearsal, which is what everyone used to do, and kind of made us all good at sight reading and big band playing. And they don't do it anymore, which is a crime, if you ask me. But anyway, I didn't know Callum before doing Pete Long's band, and he just came up to me one day and just said, "We should do a Clark Terry Bob Brookmeyer thing." And so we did, and we do that loads now. We've written loads of music together actually in that style, and I've done Callum's band since, and it's very much one thing led to another kind of thing,
Incredible.
Thanks to Terry.
Yeah, and a great outlet for your passion for Clark, to be able to, that not recreate that album or that duo, but have your own and be able to do your own things. Very inspiring.
Before I knew about Clark, I was really into like the older thing, Louis Armstrong and some of the British guys that had that kind of trad revival, like Alex Welsh and particularly Alex Welsh actually. And there's a really cool scene in London of that earlier jazz thing. And there's a saxophone player called Ewan Bleach. Well, he plays saxophone, clarinet, all of the saxophones, all of the clarinets. He plays piano. He can play clarinet and piano at the same time. He plays two clarinets and piano. He's amazing. But he had this really cool weekly gig in Limehouse at a place called the Jamboree, which is now moved. But it was a really cool underground, sort of like real vibey place. And I was doing quite a lot of those gigs, trying to do the Louis Armstrong thing. And that was maybe still when I was at Guildhall, actually. Doing all classical stuff in the day, and then at night I'd go and try and play like Louis Armstrong and, that kind of vibe. And then I heard Clark, and then that's when everything changed. And I've sort of since, I'd love to do more of the early stuff now, because I used to do it so much, and it's sort of changed for me now. I don't seem to do so much of that anymore. But yeah, they're all great.
And that skill set is still in your bag of tricks, right? So, you can,
I hope so, yeah.
I hope so. Maybe you would bone up a little bit on the Louis Armstrong. I'm curious about, since it already sounds like you're starting to work, getting freelancing and stuff. What did that transition from getting your degree from the Royal Academy to, hey, I'm actually a professional musician now? What did that transition look like? Because everyone's script is different, right?
Yeah. Oh God. And it all just sort of started happening. I just started doing more and more things, and I do remember actually some friends of mine would refer to gigs as work. They'd say like, "Oh, I'm just going to work," and I thought, "Oh, that's so stupid. It's not work. It's a gig, you know." And then like slowly, I don't know, over some years, all of a sudden it changed, and it's like it is work. You know, it is a job. This is how we make money, you know, and it's how we pay the bills and whatever. And it's like, yeah, it is a job. Yeah, I don't know. It just sort of happened really, but I feel lucky that I have quite a varied musical career. I guess I'm doing lots of different things. So a lot of things I do. Like 2 days ago, I did a gig in a pub, and it's probably 40 people there, 30 people, 40 people. There was a fantastic drummer, Matt Skelton, who's over here, his quintet doing all the Shelley Mann music. Oh. And it was, just like hardly anyone there, but it was amazing. It was so good. It was so much fun. And everyone was so relaxed and great. And that's not work, you know. We got paid, but it was just a really fun gig. And I feel very blessed and lucky. I get to do a lot of different things that they don't really feel like work to me, to be honest. So, sorry, that doesn't really answer your question, does it?
Well, it does. So, I mean, I got the sense that it wasn't, you know, you didn't graduate and then, you know, people are knocking down your door with high-paying gigs. It was a grind.
No, gradual thing. Yeah, very much a gradual thing. And and like you said before, like one thing leads to another, and all of a sudden you're doing that, and you're doing that, and I guess maybe I remember starting to dep on the West Ends for the musicals, you know, for shows there, and that felt a bit like, oh, okay, I'm one of these guys now. I'm not sure if I maybe would have felt like a professional, but it definitely felt like a step up doing those gigs.
And then eventually you started holding a seat on the shows, right?
Yeah, I mean, not loads, to be honest, but yeah, I've had a couple. I was really lucky. A couple of years ago, I did a show, Kiss Me Kate, at the Barbican, and the other trumpet player was John Barclay, who has been a hero of mine ever since I first heard London Brass, basically. And so that was really amazing to sit next to him every day and hang out with him, you know. And yeah, he was great. But by the end of that run of it was only a short run. It was like a 3-month run of a show. And just near the end, I got tonsillitis, and the infection moved from my throat into my ear, and I ended up getting a burst eardrum.
Oh,
and
no.
So I couldn't do the end of the show, and I couldn't play for 3 months. I was off for 3 months. And John, bless him, he rang me almost every day just to check up on me, just to see if I was all right.
Oh.
And yeah, we sort of like we became quite close over that sort of time, and that was just amazing for me, because he was like a hero, you know. And all the stories of him, years and years and years playing with Derek Watkins, and all the stuff he did, all the films he was on, and the tours, and you know, it was so cool to do that with him.
Amazing musicians that do those, and it is stable. The stability of that.
It's paid really well, yeah.
But so outside of the shows, I mean, you do a fair amount of studio work. You have your own groups. I mean, what does your week look like? Is every week different depending on?
Yeah, every week is different. Yeah. Some weeks there's not loads going on, and then it's a bit worrying. You know, January is often a bit like that. Mm-hmm. January is always like that, actually.
Yeah.
But even though everyone's talking about how there's no work and there's no gigs and whatever, I mean, there's a fair amount of big band gigs going around. Most of my gigs probably are big band gigs, actually. And then, I play in a handful of different small bands. So, scattered in with the small band gigs and studio stuff and a few show deps and some orchestral stuff. I still do some orchestral things. I'm actually going on tour with the LSO. I'm doing a bit of offstage trumpet in Marla 2.
Do you need tails?
I hope not. No,
Find out first before you go buy a pair.
No, luckily they've changed their costume. But no, that's going to be fun. It's a little bit of Slovenia at the beginning of September, and then Japan at the end of September, which will be really great. Oh. But a little bit of orchestral stuff, but also I'm in London Brass now. I mentioned it earlier, you know, hearing them and being really obsessed with the brass ensemble playing in general. The London Brass, German Brass, Canadian Brass, Monozzle Brass, of course, I really, really still just think they're absolutely incredible. So yeah, and now I sort of took over from John basically in London Brass, and we've just been to Germany just literally a couple of days ago, and there's a big London gig in October, the 16th of October at King's Place in London. The group is 40 years old this year, so it's the 40th anniversary concert. Yeah, to London Brass, and the group have commissioned Vince Mendoza to write a piece actually, as well as an amazing composer who's from the UK called Danny Howard. She's writing a piece for us as well, and so that's going to be really fun. And that's what keeps my classical chops in anyway. The London Brass gigs, I have to practice for that.
Keeps everything going. I love it. Well, and that makes me feel really old, because I remember when my dad got the first London Brass album, and I was in elementary school, and it's like, yeah, that was 40 years ago.
Yeah. And of course, before that, it was Philip Jones. It became London Brass. It's like, so the history is rich.
Yeah. Philip Jones. I have some great Philip Jones stories, because he and my dad were kind of pen pals and through the years. Yeah.
Nice.
So yeah, I grew up listening to Philip Jones, and then later, London Brass and German Brass, but that's cool that they're still going on, and you get to be a part of it.
Yeah.
I'll see if I get over and hear a concert one of these days.
Yeah, I do. Yeah. You're probably more likely to find us in Germany or somewhere not London, actually, to be honest. But
that's fine. Anywhere that's not LA, I'm happy to go to. The food and the beer are better, or the drinks. We'll keep it, all ages. I do want to talk about, because you'd mentioned Callum Au earlier, and quick shout out. We just interviewed Callum on the Trombone Corner, so all you trumpet players listening, you might want to jump ship and listen to the Trombone Corner, because that's a fabulous interview that'll be posted sometime this August. You were on his most recent album, Sing Seven Seas, if I got that right.
Sing Seven Seas, yeah.
All I was thinking about this whole time was Sing Sang Sung from Gordon Goodwin. It's my brain's like, okay, come on, get this right. Tell us about recording that. And that was like, as far as big band stuff, like you guys went viral with your little, Instagram and TikTok videos of your sectionals, solis and things, like really amazing. So talk us about that. Tell us about the album and the recording process and all of that.
Yeah, it was an amazing week. He actually, we recorded 4 albums in 1 week, in 7 days. There was 2 of Callum's, which is the Sing Seven Seas thing. It's a 2-part thing.
Double album, yeah.
The first part's out already, and the second part's coming out. I don't know when, actually. And then there was another album for a singer that Callum had done all the arrangements. And then, and maybe the first day or the second day was Ian Mackenzie's big band album. He's a singer based in London who's amazing. He's great, fantastic singer. And again, Callum had done all the arrangements. So Callum led the whole, every day, and it was all of his charts. But the first 2, there was these different singers, and then the rest of the time it was for his stuff. And it was amazing. It was mental, to be honest. It was like, I did 6 of the 7 days. The 7th day was just woodwinds, I think, and maybe there was a strings day as well. But so I did all of the days basically of the big band, and there was different sections, different people coming in and out. Everyone was amazing, and it was all these great charts that Callum's written, and it was great to see Callum in that environment, actually, because I think he was in his element, leading it and just knowing. I remember one of the Barry sax players, Gemma Moore. She had a question at one point, like, "Oh, Callum, bar 66 should it be a B flat or a B natural?" And Callum, sitting on lead trombone, like playing lead trombone, said, "Yeah, it's a B flat." Like he didn't need to get his score out. He just knew. Like, what? But also he was doing lots of conducting, and he was just leading everything, and it was really inspiring, actually, to see him in that in his element in that way. It was great. It was all really slick. We didn't do anything any more than we needed to, and I think that made us all have to up our game a bit, because it was like, we don't have days and days and days to do this. We don't have unlimited takes. We need to get this done. Some of the music's really hard, and I think everyone just rose to the occasion, because it's that thing of when you play with kids or amateurs, you sort of start playing really badly, again, and the opposite applies. You know, when everyone is better than you, you just play better. You just play your best when everyone else is incredible. So it was very much a case of that, and it was a really fun week. I've only just started seeing some of the thing that his the jazz AI that he put an animation to. We didn't realize, he sort of half mentioned that there will be an animation, but we didn't know anything about that. And I watched it the other day and found it quite funny. For anyone that hasn't seen it, it's the story of the Sorcerer's Apprentice, but kind of put to big band, and it's all about it. I won't go into it too much, but anyway.
Yeah. We'll link to it so folks can check it out. Yeah.
But there are three main characters in the story, and those characters are played by the trombone, the tenor saxophone, and the flugel. And I played the flugel part. And the sort of narrative of the story is how the trumpet player is not very good, and he's like hasn't got the horn out of the case for years. And it's like, I didn't know that at the time. So when we're doing a take, I'm trying to play my best stuff, you know, and then I watch the thing back and listen to it back, and it's like I play something, and then the narration's like, yeah, as you can tell, he's not very good. Like, oh no.
So you had no idea? He didn't tell you? That's what he was.
He sort of said at one point, he said, like, don't play too good, like play quite badly. But obviously, like, you know, I don't want to sound bad on the album, so I was trying to play my best.
Yeah.
I wonder whether, had he really explained, I could have played really badly on purpose, and maybe it would have worked a bit better, but then people listening to it would have just thought, what? What's this?
Yeah.
You know, like,
yeah.
I don't know. It works with the visuals. I don't know. Maybe it's something Callum can explore in the future if he's going to go down that avenue of putting animation to his big band music, when maybe, you know, we can explore with playing badly or whatever.
One step at a time. Well, I mean, that, you know, all of the cartoons and animated films that were recorded out here in LA. I mean, that was, the studio players were great at doing those, like the sound effects and sounding like you know, elementary band, or, you know, it was a whole skill in and of itself.
Absolutely. I think that would be really fun. I kind of wish he'd said that more, because that could have been really fun to really lean into that, like, you know. But yeah, anyway, it was a great week. It was a great week.
Yeah, we'll have the link so folks can check that out, as well as for the album. I do have to know though, because I've seen those, like the soli sections of, I forgot what tunes were. He posted, you know, the trombone section or the interplay of the trumpets and did you guys get those parts in advance?
Right.
No,
we were reading it on the day. Yeah, I remember
guys. Holy cow.
Well, you know, this goes back to the Nijo thing. I was thinking, like, there's a real sort of tradition in London of like people being really good at sight reading, and it's because of Nijo, because the way that band worked, even when I was in it, but very much before I was in it, when Bill Ashton was running the band, he would apparently just call tunes on gigs, and most of the band would sight read, and that became normal. The pad was huge. It was massive. You know, there's hundreds of charts in the pads, and each gig you'd play different things. And even when I was in the band, that was, the tradition was still there. It was like, on a gig you might be sight reading a chart, and it's a gig, so you need to get it right. And the more you do that, the better you get in it, right? It's you know, it's kind of as simple as that. And I think there's more of a tradition in Europe, and maybe in the States, I don't know, of spending like a week rehearsal for one gig at the end of that week. And we don't do it like that. And in fact, a friend of mine is the lead trumpet player in the Danish radio big band. He's called Dave Rules. And he's
Dave. Yeah,
Dave. You should get him on this. Yeah, he's and they didn't have a second trumpet at the time, so he was getting some of his mates around Europe to go and fill in, basically, like a project at a time. So I did a couple of those, and I remember this Tuesday to Saturday, maybe 10 till 2 every day, and then the one concert was at the end of the week. And first rehearsal, I played really well, and then every rehearsal I got worse and worse and worse. And come to the concert, I was making all these stupid mistakes, because we're just not used to that over here. We're used to just doing it, just seeing the music and playing it. Callum's week wouldn't have worked without players that are used to that kind of thing, because it was intense. That Solly, in, I think it is the Jazz AI at the end.
Yeah,
he's just put a thing up recently online. Actually, you can play along with it. I remember seeing it.
Cool.
You know, just before we were doing the take, we were all sort of practicing it a bit, because we were like, oh my god, this looks really hard. You know, to be fair, it took a few takes. We didn't all nail it straight away, like far from it. You know, but by the fourth, fifth take, pretty much it was done. It is very impressive how good. I mean, Tom Walsh, I bring up Tom again. He was playing lead for most of that week, and he's my favorite. He's an amazing lead trumpet player, dual trumpet musician, really, but specifically lead trumpet. I remember he actually did just play it right first time. But he just nailed it. It was unbelievable.
One and done. One and done.
Crazy.
Speaking of folks, I need to get on here. Need to get a Tom on here.
Yeah, he definitely
long overdue. You have your own album out. You released a duo album, Moonbeams with an N.
Moonbeams. Everyone says Moonbeams because polka dots to Moonbeams, and it would make my I don't know why we called it that. Really.
I love it though. I love it. It's quirky.
Yeah.
So tell us about that. It was your good friend Misha, right?
Yep. My dear friend Misha. Yeah, he's inspirational musician. I first met him at the Junior Royal College of Music when I was 13 and he was 14, 15. And he was playing French horn. He was a French horn player then. Not a bass player. He wasn't playing the bass at all. He also was a very accomplished piano player. I remember doing the Haydn trumpet, not the whole concerto, like one of the movements in a recital. And he accompanied me on piano. And known him for years. He went to Cambridge University to study music. And then while he was there, I think this is right, while he was there, he started playing the electric bass. And then he auditioned. He was one of the people that, when I said earlier, friends of mine were doing the postgrad at the academy on the jazz course. He was one of those people. He auditioned on electric bass, having never played double bass before, and got in because they could see his potential and learned double bass whilst at the academy. It's ridiculous, really, and amazing. And yeah, he's a talent. But yeah, we lived together a few years ago in his house in Brixton, and I heard the album. I think it's called "I Concentrate on You," and it's Lee Konitz and Red Mitchell, so sax and bass duo album, and I loved it. I still love it. It's so good. And around that kind of time of listening to that a lot, I saw that Thomas Ganch was doing a duo with the bass. I think he's a bass player from the Vienna Phil. And I thought that was really cool. And I thought, oh, we should do this, Mitch. And we were living together, like I said. So just for fun, we were playing duo. Didn't do any gigs. We were just playing for fun. And then a gig came about. I can't remember how or why, but there was a gig. All of a sudden we had a gig. So we were like, oh, okay, we need to work out what we're going to play. Came up with a few arrangements, and then that was it. Then he was the BBC Radio 3 Young Generation artist at the time, which is like basically what it meant for him was that he had a certain amount of recording opportunities at Maida Vale Studios, and he could just do what he wanted. Basically, I think he had maybe 5 over the year or something like that. And for the first one, he was like, "Why don't we do duo?" So we went to Maida Vale and we played like 3 or 4 duo things, and they put it out on the radio, and that was it really. I didn't think much more about it. And then a couple of more gigs came along, and then we just thought we should record this. We should do it. And yeah, we did. We made the album, and just to have something to put out there really. And it certainly wasn't a money making venture. Let's put it that way.
No, what did they say? I think it was Wayne Bergeron who said, albums now are the modern day business card, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. He has his own band and has a few albums out under his name, of which I'm in. And there's a couple of other albums that I've been on as a sideman, and this was the first thing for me that I could put out there that's like my own thing, it's pretty exposed, it just being trumpet and bass. So it's been nice for me to be able to be like, this is how I was playing then, and it's a documentation of that. And it's
now getting to know you after listening to it. I can hear the 8-year-old you playing along with your dad. The call and response, and the especially the trad jazz and stuff you were starting off with, at a very young age. Like you can hear that in there. It's a delightful album for folks listening. Check it out. We'll have the links to it. And I hate to ruin the kind of the surprise, but we're listening along, and some standards and a few originals, but all kind of in the same vein. And then we get to the Beatles tune.
Yeah.
Maxwell's Silver Hammer. And it's like this. I mean, it's still a duo, it's not like a whole color change, but what you do, that treatment of that tune is really, really cool, especially at that point in the album. Was that intentional, or was that kind of...
Yeah, well, we when we first started playing, we just played Beatles tunes and trad tunes. That when we were just living together and there were no gigs, it was just for fun. We just tried to play, some trad tunes and some Beatles tunes because we love the Beatles and Maxwell Silverhammer kind of worked the best. And Misha actually had the cool idea of each section modulates. So I think it goes through 6 keys that I think, and we do it in the version that we do. And also I put a different mute in for each section as well. Yeah, it's just fun. We've done a couple of gigs since and people have requested it, and it's like, oh, I can't remember how it goes because we did it for the album. That's quite difficult actually, like changing key each time, but
and you have to bring so many mutes.
Yeah, well, exactly. Yeah. We are doing a duo gig at the end of next week, actually, in a little music festival in Shropshire in England. A friend of mine and her parents organise it, and they've done it for however many years, and it's just duos that they do, and I think we're going to be their first jazz thing. Wow. They've never had jazz at the festival, basically. So I think maybe we're going to have a rehearsal at some point next week before it. So I think I'll have to remind myself of that arrangement of Maxwell Silverhammer, because I think that will probably go down well.
Yeah. That's also another argument for not listening to albums on shuffle and actually listening to an album the way it was intended.
Well, that's another reason we did the vinyl thing, actually, because we both really love vinyl, and we thought, oh no, nobody buys CDs anymore, and we know we're not going to sell all the vinyls, but we want to have the album on vinyl because we love it, and I wanted to be able to give my granddad a copy on vinyl because he's massively into vinyl. And so that was a real consideration of like which track goes where, and what's the end of this before you turn it, and then the second side and all that. It was fun to work that out, how we wanted to do that for the album. And cool. I like that. And I like the listening to an album as a whole rather than just flicking through and track by track.
And keep that art form alive. We don't want to lose that. I do want to get to the trumpet a little bit. Do you have like a daily routine, a maintenance routine? What does your practice look like?
No, I don't. Someone said to me years ago, actually, that one day you'll be late for something, but the train will get cancelled or the bus will break down or whatever. Mm-hmm. But it might not be your fault, but you're going to be late. At some point, it's going to happen. And if you need a 20-minute, 30-minute warm-up before you can play, then you're... Can we swear on this? No, I won't swear.
Yeah, it's fine. Yeah.
You're screwed if you turn up late and you need 20 minutes before you can play. So this person advised me to come up with a warm-up that doesn't require any time at all. And that kind of resonated with me for some reason. I liked that. So I like playing a middle G and then a low G, really quite loud to get the air moving. If I'm at home and I'm practicing, I'll do some tonguing. My fingers get sloppy real quick. They get so bad. So I need to keep trying to just chromatics or something, just to try and get them going again. But no, I don't really have a routine. I don't have a daily thing. If I'm working a lot, then it all stays in shape really, and if I'm not, then it's slightly I might come a cropper, as it were. But I've never been very good at the practicing thing and the kind of no, I've been good at practicing, but I mean, like the routine and doing the same thing each time, that's not really been part of my mum used to go mental. I used to go drive her crazy because she would be somewhere in the house and I'd be practicing and she'd sort of know what I was meant to be doing. And I would play it, I don't know, the Aratunian or something. I'd play it and then I'd just go off on a tangent and start improvising. And she went, James, you've got to go. But I think I'm not very good at, I just like to play. I just play,
Yeah. And it sounds like you do routine things as needed, maintenance things as needed, depending on the situation. Not... I have to tick these boxes every single day, otherwise I'm not a good trumpet player, not that sort of thing.
Yeah, definitely not that. I try and play high, do tongue, do some, and then just play me, just get on with the music. I try not to get too bogged down with thinking about where my tongue is, or you know, what I just try to sing basically. You know, I went through a bit of a mouthpiece thing a while ago, trying different mouthpieces, and it just messed me up a bit. Really, it works better for me if I don't think about it too much. Basically.
Yeah. And speaking about mouthpieces, equipment, what horns do you use? What mouthpieces have you settled on or gone back to? Whatever the case may be.
I play GR mouthpieces now. I think Louis, I think it was Louis first showed me them. I used to play Warburton, and a big one, a 3MD. Then it got a little bit smaller to the 4MD. What I was saying earlier, Chris Deacon recommended 4MD. And then when I went to the academy, Louis, maybe Copus as well, had a GR, and I tried that, and it was like, there's a shop in London actually that sells them. And I remember a few of us went there, and I tried loads of them, and just actually, I remember this a really good bit of advice that Noel Langley gave me when I said, I'm going to go and try out a load of new mouthpieces tomorrow, or whatever. Do you have any advice of, you know, what I should look for? And he said, find one that feels comfortable and that you can play high on easily. Because I was going to find a lead mouthpiece. It was specifically for a mouthpiece that would help me in the high register. He said, if you can play high comfortably and easily, then get that one and stick with it. Even if the middle register and the lower register sound crap and they're all rough or whatever and thin, fine, that will come. You'll learn how to open it out. And I took that advice, and it really worked. I bought this mouthpiece. I could play up to a double A. I was like, what? Like, added a fourth onto my register. It was like, this has never happened before. It was amazing. But a middle G down to a C and below sounded horrible. But I took his advice, and I bought it. And yeah, after a while, I learned how to play lower on it. And now I use a GR 64ES, so it's like really quite small and shallow, and I've just learned how to open it up a bit, I guess. Even in London Brass, actually, I play the jazzy high note stuff when it's required, but all the rest of the time I'm playing fourth trumpet and low notes, you know, and I've just got used to making it work, basically. So yeah, GR for trumpet, GR for flute, same thing for flugel, just like the 64 GR flugel mouthpiece. I'm not a mouthpiece geek. I don't know much about them. I just know that this one works for me.
You know that it works, and that's all that counts. And what about horns? What are your main axes?
So I just recently got a Bach. Actually, I played a Smith Watkins for ages. Well, I played a Bach for ages, and that album, the duo album, is on my old Bach. 43 reverse lead pipe, which I got when I was about 10 or something, and played that forever. Then I got Smith Watkins and played that all through kind of college and after college when I first started like doing professional stuff, I guess, on the Smith, and that was great. But quite recently I've found this Bach, a friend of mine was selling it, and I tried it, and it's a good one. You know, that thing with Bachs, like some of them are good, some of them aren't so good, and this one's a good one. So yeah, it's a 37 normal lead pipe, like not reverse lead pipe. I don't know what to call that. Standard lead pipe. Yeah. And yeah, I love it. It's great. And then my flugel is a Bobby Shoe, Yamaha Bobby Shoe, and I've got a Bach piccolo as well, which is just down there. Lovely leather case. And that's great. I used to have a Schilke piccolo that I played at Guildhall at college, which was really good. And I swapped it for a Bach a few years ago. And yeah, so Bach, basically.
Yeah.
I'd love a Bach flugel, actually. I'd really would. If anyone from Bach is listening, can I please have... No, I really like the Bach flugels. I think they're amazing. And a couple of my friends have got one, and I'm jealous of them. But the Bobby Shoe's great.
Yeah. It's a workhorse. It's a workhorse flugelhorn. So, well, thank you. I always forget to ask that question, and I always get angry emails because people are always curious.
What do you play?
Oh, you'll have to listen to my episode.
Okay, all right, yeah.
Well, it's been a while. Vinny Shashelski from Nashville actually interviewed me. But for those of you who haven't heard that and don't want to listen to that marathon of an interview, I use a 40S for my lead playing with our 19 backbore and Charlie Davis CD which is his signature bell, which is like a 37 on steroids with a standard lead pipe. Van Laar flugelhorn. I now own 2 Van Laar flugelhorns. My wife doesn't know this. Actually, she does. I have a beautiful rose gold R2 Van Laar that was practically given to me by Hugh many years ago before he passed. And then I just picked up a gold-plated Fresu, Eurum Fresu, which has been my bucket list flugelhorn that I'm going to retire with. Nice. Thanks to Josh Landris, who sourced that one for me. So, plus a whole collection in the back of the shop that I'm going to show at some point. But those are the ones that I play. But thank you for asking, Jim. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no worries. I really want to get my hands on one of those Clark Terry flugelhorns. With
that would be fun.
Yeah, I'd love to try one of them, but.
Yeah. Well, ask Trent Austin or Josh could probably find one for you, I'm sure.
Yeah, there was one came up on eBay a little while ago, actually, but I just didn't have any money, so.
Yeah, that's always the problem, timing. Everything. Speaking of which, time has flown by. It's been absolute honor and pleasure getting to talk to you. Jim, before I let you go, though, our last question, which is always a doozy. If you could leave our listeners with your best piece of advice, and it could be about anything, what would that be?
Oh, God. Okay. Oh, you put me on the spot here.
You and 160 other trumpet players. This is my favorite part, just to watch people squirm at the end. We've got a wealth of wonderful advice,
Well, the Clark Terry "Keep on Keeping On" just springs to mind, But I think my advice would be to keep listening and try and sing down the horn. I think too many people get caught up with the technicalities of it all, and my chops this, and I can't play this high note, or I think nobody cares if you can play a double C or not. Like if you sing down the horn and you make people smile and there's a connection for the audience with your playing, then I think that's really the only thing that really matters. So I guess keep listening, keep singing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 100%. Keep on keeping on. I love it.
On, yeah.
Great advice. Thank you, Jim. It's been an absolute pleasure having on. Can't wait to meet you over on the other side of the phone.
Also, actually, split notes are good. Split notes are good. Don't worry about splitting notes. Split notes are good. That's my advice. Split notes are good.
Let's put that on a t-shirt. That'll t-shirt and a bumper sticker. Love it.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Jim. It's been a fabulous talking to you today.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
Well, a huge thank you to Jim for spending so much time sharing his stories. I was sweating bullets here in the shop. Still waiting to get that air conditioning fix here in the front room. But more importantly, James is really busy over the summer playing with all the different groups and his own projects that he's doing. And so to be able to fit in, being 9 hours ahead of us during the summer, it's difficult to find a time because he's out playing, basically 7 nights a week, if not doing shows on musicals or his own groups or playing with the Ronnie Scotts, etc. So really meant a lot that Jim was able to set aside the time to be on the show. I just talked to Jim, and he's in the midst of putting up his website, but we'll have links down below to where you can check out his album Moonbeams, and of course Callum Au's Sing Seven Seas album, double album, which some of it is out now. So we'll have links to all of that below, as well as Jim's social media, where you can follow him and keep track of what he's doing and where he's going to be. I have some wonderful guests coming up. I would be remiss if I didn't remind you to hit that 5-star review button, hit that thumbs up if you're on YouTube, hit that subscribe and notification button, and most importantly, leave us a comment if you can. Even if it's just that you like the episode, or if you want to chime in with your experience, all of that stuff. It really is working. I've been harping on this for several episodes, and you just see our engagement go up, and you see more people that have never heard of the podcast start viewing, and next thing you know, they have 160 episodes to go back and listen to. So it does mean a lot. It's a little thing that you can do for us. And on that note, if you ever want to go over to Google and give Bob Reeves Brass a review, we would always appreciate that as well, because this is a labor of love for us, and we want to get back to the community by providing this podcast, of course, the Trombone Corner podcast. And we also have the Horn Signal podcast that we don't get paid to do. It's just out of the love and goodness of our heart. So if you want to give back a little ways and you're not interested in getting a mouthpiece or an alignment or any of that stuff, that's fine. Just a kind review goes a long way. So that being said, let's go out and make some music.